Hey friends, Jill here. Welcome back to Whispering Willow Farm. Today I am here with my sister Brooke and we are planting garlic. I actually ordered both of our garlics at the same time. Have you ever planted garlic before?
Never.
So she's never planted garlic before, so we're going to do a little how-to video teaching you guys and kind of hands-on showing her so that she can go back to her house and plant them. But before we do that, I wanted my sister to kind of tell you guys a little bit about herself. So I have been gardening, gosh, for years now. And she has blossomed over the last year or so.
2 years, I guess.
2 years, and like really gotten into it. And it's been really cool because I never thought you would get into gardening. But then she's always been the older sister, right? And I've always looked up to her. You've always taught me all the things, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. So now we're in a season where like
I'm calling Jill every week. Jill, how do I do this? What is this? What does this mean? What does this look like? I don't know.
So now I get to teach her, and it's really cool because it's something I'm really passionate about. And I love that I get to teach people how to grow food, but it's even more special when you get to teach your family and they've kind of been bitten by that bug and now they want to do it for their own reasons. And so I would love for you to kind of explain the season that you're in, the scale that you're working with, and where you want to get to and what your goals are.
Okay. Well, we, like Jill said, we are newbies. We live on about an acre, and we have 3 raised beds, so definitely not at this scale yet. And this year, so I've had 2 raised beds for the past year, and then this past year we added a 3rd, and I started my very first fall garden, which I'm so stoked about because it is so much easier than a spring or summer garden so far.
Yeah, no, it really is. That's why I tell you guys, grow a fall garden because
it's
just easier. You don't have the pests.
Yeah.
It's funner. It's cooler. If you prefer the cool temps, it's great.
Yes. And with the garlic, we're actually going to start growing in the ground. So that's new. We've never grown in the ground before. But I have chickens, so I've been fertilizing. Those are new too, by the way. So I've been fertilizing.
I love you.
The ground with poop. And then hopefully in the spring we're going to start a very small scale cut flower garden, which I am so stoked about. Like awesome. I can't even stand it. I've been writing everything down and watching, YouTube videos and everything. So that's where we're at right now. As far as long-term goals, we would really love to get a bit more land, and I would really love to eventually get a greenhouse or high tunnel, and that way I could grow year-round. Yeah. Because I'm a summer person. I love being outside in the summer, and in the winter I have found it gets kind of depressing, and for me, I really enjoy watching things grow. And so I think with a greenhouse over the winter, it'll just be, I don't know, put you in a good mood and give you something to do every day and something to look forward to. So that would be our long term, long term, maybe 2 to 3 year long term goal. Yeah.
I really love that you hit on, like, from a mental standpoint, what the garden has done for you, because we teach you guys to grow food from a sustainable point, right? Like, it is sustainable to grow food. You can grow food for your own family's needs. You can grow food to sell them. But also, there's value in just growing food to mentally stay in a good place. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. It's a really good free therapy that gives back to you, and you can give back to your community. And so I really love that you said that. I know that I'm going to absolutely love having this high tunnel in the winter. When I can come in here, it's warmer, I can see green things growing. It's just going to mentally put me in a good space and also just give me something to look forward to. When you don't grow a fall garden, or maybe you're not growing year round, those winter months get hard, and really they can be very depressing.
I mean, because everything just seems dead, Yeah. There's no life anywhere. Right. And then you're just stuck inside. And the sun might be shining, but it's 30, 40 degrees outside. So it really can change your attitude a bit when you have stuff growing in the middle of winter.
Absolutely. And even something my sister and I were talking about the other day is microgreens. You can grow microgreens
Oh, that's
year.
something else I forgot to mention. Yes.
She's like leaving you hanging on some of her dreams here. But you can grow microgreens inside all winter long. And granted, it is not like coming outside and getting your hands dirty in the soil, and you're not spending hours working towards a goal, but you are able to grow food very fast, very efficiently. And sometimes you just need enough to get by, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not looking for it to do what the summer garden does, but it will put you in a good space, and you are also able to have a lot of healthy, nutritious food in the meantime as well.
It's a good starter domino effect.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't cost a lot. It's easy maintenance. You can do it inside. You can really do it anywhere.
Yeah.
And it gives you that boost of encouragement that you need, that like, oh wow, I can grow something, and then you can go scale it up from there. You know?
Absolutely. So if you guys want to follow her gardening flower microgreen adventures, I will leave her Instagram down below. You guys go check her out and show her some love. But today's video is going to be all about garlic. So we got our garlic from Hudson Valley Seed Co. I do know that some of the varieties are already out of stock, so you should be planting garlic right now. However, I have planted garlic as late as January and been fine. So know that depending on your zone and your climates, there is some freedom and some liberty in that, but you will run out of variety options. So we got ours from Hudson Valley Seed Company. So we're gonna tell you all of the specifics in here in the tunnel because it's still really sunny where we're gonna be planting our garlic, but then we'll go out there and actually show you guys what it looks like. So we have got the music variety and the chestnut red. They are both hardneck varieties, which we'll get into in a minute. But garlic is actually an allium, and an allium is part of, well, the garlic family, the onion family, shallots, leeks, chives. That's all grouped together. So the fancy technical name for garlic is allium, and there's a lot of different things that fall into that family. All right, so we're going to talk about the difference in hardneck and softneck garlic. Do you know what the difference is in the two of them?
I could be wrong, but I feel like hardneck is the kind that you can braid.
Okay. Yes.
That's all I know.
All right, so there's pros and cons to each. The varieties you have are hardneck, which is also the varieties that I have. So one of the things that is the distinct thing that is different is your hardneck variety is going to produce this flowering shoot, and that is actually called escape. Many people grow the hardnecks just for the escape because you can harvest them when they're nice and young and tender, and they have fantastic flavor, kind of peppery. They taste really good. You can make pesto with them. A lot of market growers grow the garlic just to be able to sell the scapes because they are very high in value when you take them to market or if you have a restaurant supplier. But that's why I chose the hardneck to grow. And it's because I want to be able to harvest those scapes. And so you harvest them when they're just about this big, but say you didn't harvest that scape, it's just going to continue, and it's actually going to flower into this cluster, which is called an umbel. And if you don't know what an umbel is, think about a fennel or a dill. You know how it has that flowering? It's
like
called
a powdery type.
Yeah, it's like this little flowery pod. It's called an umbel. It resembles an umbrella, very much like that. And so that is what your hardneck garlic will do as well if you end up not cutting the scapes when they're young. They're just going to end up flowering. Another benefit to growing hardneck instead of softneck is that the flavor is much more complex. It is going to be, it's not going to produce as much as softneck. So know that already.
Interesting.
And it's not going to store and last as long either.
Really? See, I thought hardnecks stored better.
So hardnecks store about 4 to 6 months.
Okay.
If you're storing them properly. Softnecks can store from like 9 to 12 months. But they will generally produce enough, depending on how much you plant, to last you through, you know, if we're harvesting them midsummer, so say we're harvesting them July, they'll last you through when you need to plant again. More than likely, depending on how much you plant.
Okay.
Which is why we bought 2 pounds. 2 pounds, and you're breaking apart that one head to all the individual cloves. That's quite a bit of garlic.
So do you have to, like, succession plant garlic, too?
You don't. You can harvest them all at one time, dry them all, and store them all just fine. So that doesn't matter. You could but then you'd have to be succession sowing earlier versus than later based off of when you're wanting to harvest.
Okay.
So one thing I would consider too is your placement of your garlic. I would love to go out into the raised bed and plant this garlic in some of my long 48-foot, long raised beds. However, I'm not going to be harvesting this garlic until mid-July, which means I wouldn't be able to plant anything in those beds until fall, more than likely by the time I mended the beds. I don't want to do that because I really need the space in my raised bed garden for production, selling things. And so where we're actually going to be planting this garlic is where we had our sunflowers. I'm going to take you guys over there and kind of show you what we're doing. My sister was actually really encouraged by just, what's the right way to put it?
Don't overthink.
Don't
gardening.
overthink it.
Like
right.
you can literally plant food anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And so I'm going to show you guys that it does not look pretty, but it's functional. It's going to work. And that's really all that matters. So if you are relying on growing a lot, either for, your own food storage or maybe you're selling at a farmer's market, keep that in mind on how much garlic you plan on planting, because that's going to take up your bed to where you wouldn't be able to plant anything else in there until, late August, or depending on when you plant later than that. All right, so the soft neck varieties are usually what you are finding in the grocery store, and that is because, one, they last a lot longer, like what we had talked about, and then it's much more, I don't know if generic's the right word, but kind of generic flavor, right? It can go with a lot more things versus those hardneck varieties. They become very complex. They become very delicate flavor notes that may not appeal to a broad range of people. So if you are wanting to go to the store to buy garlic to bring it home and plant it, yes, you can do that. Just know that more than likely it is a soft neck variety and it will more than likely lack in flavor. But soft necks, like I said, stored longer, they're not going to produce that scape at all. They're going to have a lot of really, really small bulbs, and they'll have a lot of really small cloves in that one bulb, and they'll produce more than your hard neck. And so these are things just to keep in mind. Your hard neck is going to do really well in colder climates. If you have really, really harsh winters, they're going to do fantastic. The soft neck's more catered towards warmer climates. So maybe if you're in a zone 8 or 9 and you don't really have these cold winters, that's something to be mindful of. We chose hard neck for a few different reasons, like I said, but last year we had one of our coldest winters here in like 30 years. And so just in case that happens again, I don't want my garlic to be damaged at all. I wanted to pick a variety that would withstand those really harsh winters if we happen to have those again. All this boils down to, though, is personal preference, right? I'm growing for flavor. I'm growing for scapes. Therefore, I chose a hardneck variety. If you are growing for food storage and your goal is to grow enough garlic to put up for an entire year, you're not really looking for those crazy flavors or anything like that. You are content with just the normal garlic flavor. Grow the soft neck. Same with vegetables or even flowers for that matter. You're going to grow specific to your needs and your why. You may be growing heirloom tomatoes for the flavor, or you may be growing hybrids for production if you want to sell. You may be growing flowers that you just want to last a long time on your kitchen table, or you may be growing flowers, sunflowers that you can crank out in 30, 40, 50 days depending on the variety to take to market. What you choose to grow completely just determines like your personal preference.
And it may change.
And it may change. Yeah. And yours is going to be different than mine, or, vice versa. Ours are going to be different, and that's okay. There is a lot of liberty in that. It can change. Your opinions can change. You're not going to know until you grow it. So say you choose either the soft neck or the hard neck. You're not going to know which one you like. I encourage you to grow both and figure out which one is going to work best for you and your needs. So we're growing hard neck specifically this year. It is all that we're growing, but next year we will probably add in some soft necks just to be able to do a good comparison and figure out for ourselves which ones are going to work.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you choose, your planting and your harvesting stays the same. So all the depth, your spacing, when to harvest, all of that is going to be the same. That does not change based off of variety. Same with a tomato or something. Just because you're growing a different tomato, all the principles still apply. So let's head over to the garlic patch and we will show you guys. What you will need for this is your garlic. And then you'll need a tool. I prefer the Hori Hori. This is one of my most used hand tools. It has a serrated edge here, which is really nice for digging. But then it has your inches on here too. So when you talk about, you know, how far apart you need to space something or how deep, this kind of just has everything built into one. And I really, really recommend get this because you'll use it for so many different things.
And where does one get one of
Where
these?
does one get one of these? I got mine from Haas Tools. I will link it below. I'm sure there's a lot of other places that sell it. Most of my tools just come from Haas. All right, so you can see behind me is where Sean had all of his sunflowers. He just cut the last round of those last week to take to market. So sunflowers are officially over. And you can see here, we just have all these stalks sticking out of the ground. We don't actually rip those up because you have these huge root systems on there. And when you're pulling that up, you're really just disturbing your soil. And the goal is to leave that ecosystem intact and alone. And so what I'm going to do is actually let that over time just break down, decompose, add organic matter back into the soil. So instead of ripping all these up, I'm leaving them. I've cut this row behind me down pretty low. There's some over there that are taller that we'll just go through and cut down lower. We'll feed those to the goats or throw into the compost bin. And then I'm going to plant in between them. So you want your rows spaced about 12 to 18 inches apart. You're going to space them in between each other. So like your bulbs or your cloves of garlic that you're planting, those will be about 6 to 8 inches. And then you're going to plant them anywhere from 2 to 4 inches deep. I prefer to plant deeper, but there is some liberty with that, especially when they say space them 6 to 8 inches apart. I'm always going to do 6 inches over 8 inches because I prefer to plant tighter so I can get more in a smaller space. Same with flowers, same with anything. Usually when they tell you a larger spacing, it isn't actually necessary. So I tend to plant a bit tighter. What I'm going to do here is just label the varieties that we have and stick on the front, and then we'll get busy planting. All right, so what are you most excited about growing garlic for?
Well, I eat a lot of garlic. I am one of those people who I feel like garlic cures any ailment. And so anytime there's anything wrong in the family, I'm like, here, we're gonna eat garlic. And I use it in just about everything that I cook. I try to find a way to use it in everything. So it's just something that I am buying from the grocery store weekly, if not every other week. Mm-hmm. And so for me, this is literally one of those just very necessity items. Like, it's
it is a staple in your household.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
So are you gonna try to dehydrate any and make like garlic sauce, or?
Well, I do have a dehydrator. Yeah. I could try that. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, make your own spices.
I could do that.
So you just use it a lot and you're growing it to replace what you're having to buy.
Yeah, so I go through about, at least one bulb of garlic a week.
Wow.
Yeah, we eat a lot.
Yeah, and fresh garlic just tastes better.
It's so much better. Like anytime a recipe calls for garlic salt or a lot of times you can buy that already minced garlic.
Oh, yeah.
I always take fresh garlic and use that instead because I just prefer it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just more natural, I guess.
Yeah. You know the story behind it.
Behind garlic?
Yeah, I find it's nicer too. They have a farm that's really close to them that they buy all of their flowers from and a lot of different vegetables and things like that. And it's always different too when you know that you can support your local farmer. She has a relationship with these farmers. She knows, how they grew it. She got to go to their farm. It makes a difference in just going to the grocery store. Granted, if you go to the grocery store, because that's all you have access to, there's nothing wrong with that. But you have a personal connection to who is growing this. And I do think that makes it a bit more special.
For sure.
All right, so here is the bulb of garlic, and within this bulb are all these different cloves, and so you're gonna break it apart. All right, so I kind of broke that stalk that was in there just because it makes it a bit easier. You wanna try to keep as much of the paper wrapping on the cloves as possible. It kind of just adds
protection.
It adds protection. It really just kind of keeps all the creepy crawlies away from your garlic, not letting them get any sort of fungus or bacteria. Now some of it's going to fall off, that's natural, but try to keep as much intact as you can.
These cloves are huge.
They are big. It smells so good. I mean, literally smells so good.
It does. It smells. Here, can y'all smell it?
Smell-o-vision.
Oh, it smells so good. Oh, I'm excited.
All right, so much like any other bulb you guys can see here, you want to plant the pointy side up. And so that is pretty typical with any bulb. This is where everything, so down here, this is where the roots are going to shoot down into the ground and get established, and this is where the flower and the actual plant's going to come from. So, you ready to plant some garlic?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. That's a big bulb of garlic.
Look at this bulb.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And they're just permeating.
All right, so we're just going to brush back the soil surface. It is nice if you have nice loose soil. You guys can see this is pretty loose soil. We've been working in it all summer, and there was garlic and shallots planted here last fall. So on my Hori Hori, like I had mentioned, you can see how deep. So I'm going to plant mine 4 inches deep. I'm going to take the pointy part, stick it all the way down, cover it back up. I'm going to measure out 6 inches, which would be right here. I'm going to dig, and we're going to keep going. All right, and just like that, we have planted our first row of garlic. We have quite a bit more. We had 2 pounds that we bought. What you'll do is just mulch it really good. That can look like straw, that can look like leaves, it doesn't really matter. But after you've planted it, which you can move through pretty quickly, it's hands off. You don't mess with it again until midsummer. So I planted now, we're the middle of October. Probably around the middle of July, I'll start noticing that the leaves are turning yellow. And once about 50% of your leaves have yellowed, that's when you know that it's time to rip it up. So you just dig it up, and then you'll go through the whole storing and curing process. Other than that, you don't mess with it. You just forget about it and leave it alone, and that is the wonderful thing about it. We will mulch with leaves just to help with weed prevention around it, but really that's all you have to do. So you feel confident to go home and now?
So stoked. I can't wait.
Do this?
I won't be planting until like the last week in October. I need to amend my soil a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm super excited.
Very easy.
So easy. If you're on the fence about, you know, should I plant garlic? Yes.
Yeah.
Like if you're ever on the fence about should I plant? Yes. The
Yes.
answer is always yes.
Yes.
You know what? You can even plant these in tubs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You could literally plant this in anything. It's so easy. So,
like wine barrels, you could, you know, like those wooden barrels. So the same applies for your onions, your shallots, your leeks. Those are things that you do very similar to this method, and then you just leave them alone. You plant them late fall, you harvest them midsummer. I mean, it's one of those really good storage things that they are essentials for your family. Like garlic we use all the time, onions we use all the time, and to get them in the ground, it's very hands-off. A beginner can do them. You do not have to be an expert by any means to grow these things. So like my sister said, if you're questioning do you grow it, the answer is yes, absolutely. Always. Absolutely you grow it. And hopefully this video just showed you how simple it could be. If you're choosing your varieties, maybe you have a better idea or a better understanding of which one you want to choose, the hard neck or the soft neck. And if you're questioning, like I said, just buy both and plant both and see what happens.
From like a beginner's perspective, I definitely say if I can grow this, friends, you can grow it too. So yeah, I'm here to like encourage the beginners to
You can do it. Yes.
Do it. It's super easy and it's just very rewarding to grow food.
Yep.
Very rewarding.
And flowers.
So rewarding to grow flowers.
Listen, my sister is also on the flower train, and it's a great train to be on. So any of you guys who want to hop along with us,
come on.
But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today as we planted garlic. Like I said, the links to my sister's Instagram, all the tools, the garlic we used, everything will be down in the description. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments and Nathan will get to them. Thank you guys so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.